In the 17th century, one man declared himself pirate and newfound captain aboard a privateering vessel. This singular act would end with him at the forefront of the first ever manhunt, but all those searches would come up empty as he disappeared, taking with him the largest treasure hoard in pirate history. Today, we're learning about one of the most infamous pirates of all time, Henry Every. This is Red Web. Welcome back, Task Force, to another episode of Red Web, the podcast all about unsolved mysteries, true crime, and the unknown. I'm your resident mystery enthusiast, feeling like I've been hanging on 1,000 sneezes, Trevor Collins. And joining me, also with the sinuses to rival mine, Alfredo Diaz.
It's just, that time of the year. It's just that time of the year, man. This is interesting. You love me some pirates. Also, this works out for me because I've been itching to rewatch the whole Pirate Caribbean series.
Okay.
From Disney. It's been a long time. And I was like, oh yeah, that movie had some really cool MCU style cliffhangers. That was like, oh, it's gonna be sick to rewatch it. That being said, first ever manhunt, wild.
It's wild.
That's cool. That's a cool title to claim. Just first ever manhunt. And then also, I've never heard of this infamous pirate.
Yeah, dude, it's so weird because, we hear all these tales about Blackbeard and whatever, and there's always stories around buried treasure. But despite all of this, for centuries, there's been no evidence to show that any treasure has ever been buried or ever recovered in a buried fashion. However, Henry Every is super fascinating because he actually existed. He actually survived, is one of the few, if not only pirates to survive attacking a fleet, grabbing a bunch of loot. I'm talking gold, silver, gems, living to tell the tale, and then disappearing. We don't know exactly what happened to him. Obviously, we have some theories. One of them is very recent, but this is a mind-boggling tale that I'm with you. Up until kind of finding research topics and new unsolved mysteries, we were also unaware of this infamous pirate.
Has anybody's treasure been buried and found?
Right. No.
Oh, really?
Never. I don't think they're actually burying these treasures.
That's true. I mean, who's to say that it'll still be there when you get back? All right, when you're going and you're burying treasure, you got a crew with you. That crew might not be with you forever.
Who's to say John Smith up on the mast, they could come early.
Captain put it on that island. I'm going to go back and I'm going to dig the hell out of that place.
Exactly. Yes.
I don't know. And then it's like, why wouldn't you just wanted to have it on you in case you need it for anything? That makes sense, but it's such a big, huge part of the lore. You think pirate, you think buried treasure. Just straight up, 1 and 1. And yeah, I don't know. It's so weird to think that has there even been the act of burying the treasure?
Probably not. All evidence points to no.
This is blowing my mind. I've been lied to my entire life.
But pirates also get so deeply romanticized. You have things like Treasure Island, and they become fantastic children's stories that take on a life of their own. Hence, Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean, a fantastic film that drops off greatly after the first couple.
Yeah, it does.
Doesn't stop me from watching Dead Men Tell No Tale.
Do you fear death?
I do now. Very fun movies, though. And yeah, I think there's just, I'm sure we could deeply explore that and find why that's the case and how these rumors start. But that's kind of what this show does. We take an unsolved mystery, we pull it apart, we figure out why these are pieces of DNA and a lot of different mysteries. But yeah, we're going to talk about who Henry Every was, his many different names, his quick origin, why he became a pirate, and then what his short stint as a pirate looked like. Because in just a few short years, he went from a first mate to I'm going to do this for the Royal Navy to screw this, I'm a pirate. And then a year or two later, ghost on the wind.
I mean, kind of love to see it though, right? We talk about all the time, what if, and obviously nefarious people doing bad things that deserve to be caught. But you think about serial killers or bank robbers, what if they just stopped at the first one? What are the chances that we would actually find them if they just stopped?
Right. Just stop the one before.
Even after, there's some serial killers that are have killed 25 people. What would have happened if they stopped at 15?
Right. Or even 24.
Yeah.
Does it change?
Yeah, that's true. It could be right up into that number.
Truly. And this guy gets in, gets out. He knows when enough is enough. And so we're going to talk about how much money this man walked away with. And, we talk about inflation. We'll get to these numbers. But I just need to put this out there because it's mind-boggling.
Oh, man.
It's crazy how big it was for that day and how it actually in today's dollars doesn't seem like all that wild. And of course, we're talking about pirates. So there's going to be a few mentions of some themes that I want to mention in the description below if you're looking for those sensitive topics. But before we dive in, lots happening at redwebpod.com. That's our HQ, our home base, our Patreon. You have weekly content, ad-free, all sorts of stuff. Last Friday, if you're getting ready for the Oscars and you want to see the record breaker Sinners with 16 nominations, come hang out with us. We just covered the movie club on Sinners, my favorite movie out of 2025. Just rewatched it again for this movie club, and I got to tell you, I love it.
It's good, man. It is solid. So good. Visually, the way it's shot. This is a great movie.
Dude, I wish I could go back and see it in IMAX again, but I don't have IMAX at home. I just have TV. And then this Wednesday, we have a research outline. We like to put out some of the research outlines that we developed, the thing that I'm looking at when I record these episodes, and we put those out. And so Wednesday, we have another one. And then on Friday, we have our behind the scenes podcast or our variety show. It's kind of a little catch-all, but it's called Break Room. And this Friday's episode is about Alfredo's Australian adventures and his Ark Raiders shenanigans. You get to all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, reverse mugging's big thing. And it doesn't stop. Yesterday, I spent 10 minutes with a random guy that I went to a corner of the map, and I was like, no one's going to find me here. And then there's a random guy there, and we just started duplicating rubber duckies and then sold them and made millions.
What is the way you could sell these ducks? Hold on a second. I want to
sell these ducks. They're very rare ducks, but I just found them. And then I found them because other people were doing it. It was like a duplication glitch that's going on. And so I just made friends with a random guy. We chatted up for 10 minutes and then just throw ducks at a wall and then picked them all up and sold them. It's like one of those things in games where you're like, oh, there's a glitch for levels or whatnot. And everyone's like, you gotta get in, gotta do it. And it was like last night at 12 at midnight. Yeah. And then it patched this morning.
I'm sure.
I was like, I'm in out my bag.
Well, if you're intrigued by what reverse mugging is, even though, like me, you think that just says charity, no. It is reverse mugging. Come hang out with us. Fredo will break it down for you. That's on Friday. Future Trevor jumping in real quick to clarify just a few things because, boy, we got more cooking than I thought when we recorded this. This Wednesday, we still have that research outline, but this Friday, along with Break Room, we have our first Scary Stories podcast. We did the pilot many months ago, and now we want to continue it. You guys really enjoyed it, and so did we. And so this Friday, Friday the 13th, our first Scary Stories show is coming out wherever you listen to Red Web. So it'll be right here in the RSS feed, and then moving forward, it will be every other Thursday. So the next one after this will be March 26th, and off it will go. Thank you all so much for the support in launching this new series. We couldn't be more excited and proud. Philip Spann is the man behind the editing and the sound design. It comes to life in such an amazing way. So please enjoy that this Friday. And if you're looking for something else to listen to, we want to remind you that last Friday, our movie club on Sinners is available to everybody. So no matter what tier you are, or a free member, or you've just gone there for the first time, redwebpod.com, come listen to that. It is one of my favorite movies now. So come listen to us break it down, why it is just gobbling up all the awards and breaking records for the Oscars season. And also prepare for the Oscars season with us on Movie Club. Back to past me. Now with that, I think it's time to dive in. I'm very excited. We've had a lot of long and some heavier episodes, so this is a really fun one with a lot of interesting turns. So let's talk about it and the modern revelations on this case. But first, we have to go all the way back. We're talking the mid-1600s is where we are at. And I do want to say, due to this era in which Henry Every lives, of course, details about his life become a little bit more uncertain. However, what we're going to talk about today is based on what historians believe they have been able to piece together based on a few of the pieces of actual records and written reports that have survived to this day. And so I'm not going to give you the things that we think about or maybe are true. I'm going to give you the nuggets of truth that we can pull from history.
It's still wild that, as much as things get jumbled in the telephone game, there's still so much that survives, which is so cool.
Yeah.
to just look back hundreds of years and just be like, yeah, so this happened at this time. It's like, dang, okay.
I think we had it all figured out with clay tablets because we have written documents on clay and on stone that have survived for millennia, several thousand years. I got homework from high school that's long gone. It's just gone.
Like, as someone that collects comic books, I mean, paper, it gets brittle and it starts to break apart and it starts fading and everything. And so
the sun just chews it up, fades it away.
It does. Yeah. I mean, paper is very fragile.
I feel like, not to overextend this topic, but I feel like we're in the 90s, right? We had film, which has amazing visual fidelity, and then we moved into digital, which is modern-wise very good. But in the 90s, all my home videos are like, why does this look so bad? And it's just loss. It's just lossy. You can't rescan it and get it to be 4K. That's what paper is. Anyway, let's talk about Henry Every. He was born near the town of Plymouth in Devon, England. And this was in 1653, though I do want to say some sources cite the year as 1659, making the man a whole 6 years younger, potentially. Now, I also want to say that his name was sometimes spelled, importantly, note this, Henry Avery. Same spelling, but an A instead of an E. And he's also been referred to because of this last name as Jack Avery or John Avery. But Avery is important for one of the key theories. Now, it's believed that his father worked at sea, which would spark Henry's interest in also becoming a maritime employee of a vessel just going out yonder. And I also think around this time, the New World and the Great Frontier, the ocean beckoned. Like an elf in Lord of the Rings, you just want to hit that sea and ride it. So he does do this. As he grows up, he begins his career as an entry-level mate on a merchant vessel, and it's speculated that by 1690, Henry had joined the Royal Navy and was aboard the ships HMS Kent and HMS Rupert before then entering into the slave trade. Some records note that Every was referred to as Long Ben or Long John, not to be confused with the fast food fish place, Long John Silver, completely different person and pirate.
Have you ever been to Long John Silver?
I have never been. I feel like that's a great way to pick up food poisoning. I'm sorry.
Who is going and supplying this place and funding this place?
Fish shouldn't be made fast.
I don't know anyone that eats here.
Right. In the middle of Texas, we are... we have the Gulf Coast, that's fair, but there's a lot of landlocked states that would make me nervous to get some of that popcorn shrimp. No hate, I guess I haven't tried it, so I can't judge. Maybe it's the best. Now, funny enough, talking about this name of Long Ben or Long John, historian D. Cordingley has noted that these names are notably ironic, to the sense that he's not long in any way, he's not tall. In fact, I'm going to quote D. Cordingley here. Quote, Henry Avery did not conform to any of the popular images we have of pirates today. He was of middle height, rather fat, with a dissolute appearance, and what was described as a jolly complexion. So in other words, he was relatively unfit and looked like someone who lived a wild, potentially unhealthy lifestyle and had maybe some rosacea of the cheeks, like a red, cheerful appearance, but otherwise isn't like some handsome, muscle-bound swashbuckler Johnny Depp or something like that. From here, his life gets a little vague for a few years leading up until the kind of main focus of what we're going to talk about today. And we do have concrete evidence regarding a few of these major pieces that we're going to talk about, which is, like you said, awesome that it survived the test of time. And so his historical record picks up again in 1693. This time, he has moved up the ladder, so to speak. He is the first mate aboard a ship called Charles II. Charles II was a privateering vessel tasked with pillaging French goods in the Caribbean. However, things took a turn for the worse after the crew spent several months in a Spanish port without any pay. To be very clear, they are no longer in the Caribbean. They are actually in northern Spain. I think they were in the city of Corunna, which initially, yes, they were meant to go to the Spanish West Indies here in the Caribbean, but instead they've been locked in a port. It says that there was issues with paperwork, which I would assume maybe are permits or orders of operation or things to do. I don't know if you need some sort of legal documentation like that, but all of this paperwork essentially caused delays, and this left the group locked in the port without any income for several months. And at this point, Every, using this kind of tension, is getting upset with the whole situation, and he uses this to his advantage. He sparks an insurgency in May of 1694, and he says he's seizing the ship. It is now mine. I am a pirate and the captain of this vessel. Every is quoted supposedly saying, quote, I am the captain of this ship now. I am bound for Madagascar with the design of making my own fortune and that of all the brave fellows joined with me. End quote.
Sounds promising, especially when the morale is down. They haven't gotten paid for 2 months.
Well, several months. It's almost a year.
Oh,
it's a little fuzzy, but it's the next year in May when he says F this.
Whew, yeah, hell no. At that point, it's just broken promises that are never going to come. And that's like, all right, you get the classic pirate mutiny type thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, at a certain point, when you're hearing about great riches and these air quotes, strange new lands, and you want to go chasing these gold treasure troves and hidden cities like El Dorado, which is an episode we did, Task Force, I guess I can hear the call of the wild. Pirate, I always hear as like a lawless individual, but maybe in this context, it feels more like, listen, I'm dropping the Navy reputation. I'm just doing my own thing.
Yeah.
A solo entrepreneur, aka pirate.
The wild thing is that pirates are still a thing to this day.
That's true. And it's definitely more crime focused, for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, depending on which oceans you go to, there's pirates. They're modernized at this point. So, they try and like seize the ship, either for goods or hostage situation type of stuff. And then you see sometimes the boats, depending, if they're going through these dangerous, treacherous waters, you'll see boats lined with barbed wire and all kinds of defenses and stuff like that. I'm like, this is wild. It's still a thing.
It is wild.
Yeah. You think it wouldn't. It's modern day, you know what I mean? You're on the water, but I guess you're just so far out there and you're so isolated. There's not really going to be a system in place per se that, hey, we're going to get to you within minutes, or we're surveying the water. It's like, there's just so much.
Right. You're in international waters. It's essentially, I don't know, maritime law, to be totally honest. And so you're essentially in no man's land where there are rules of engagement, but it's no one's jurisdiction.
Yeah, that's true. Jurisdiction.
When you got like a shipping crate vessel, or even like an aircraft carrier, you have these huge vessels, and then these little guys buzz up in the little motorboat.
Yeah, they do.
And it doesn't feel like it would be a threat, but it is.
It definitely is.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's very wild.
I mean, they have weapons, It's not like the boat's made of armor piercing like plating or anything like that.
Yeah, and weapons, people are just soft meat walking around. And so, like, at the end of the day, you're like, listen, insurance is covering all this stuff. I just don't want any physical trouble. Let's just get out of this unharmed. So, coming back to Every, he is now taking the ship, the Charles II, but he doesn't like it. It's named after one of the kings. He throws the name off. He names it the Fancy. I kind of like it. That's a fancy name right there.
Oh, that's the name?
Yeah.
Oh, that was going to be the
Can't
fancy.
get fancier than that.
What? Such and such. It's just called the Fancy.
The Fancy Sea Turtle. But nope, it's just the Fancy. And he then decides to set sail to southern Africa. We do have a painting of what this vessel looked like, what this gentleman looked like. Who knows the true accuracy of it, but go ahead and take a look at this painting.
Wow, he looks very prestigious. He looks quite regal, honestly. He doesn't look like a rundown pirate. He's got nice clothing, and he's got his stockings, and his little belt and knives and sword, the accoutrements, the hat. Is that the wig that they wear back then?
Yeah, he might have that white powdered wig.
Regal look to him. Doesn't look like your normal pirate. Not run down at all.
It looks like he's got a scimitar of all sorts.
Yeah, he does.
And then a galleon in the back.
Yeah.
4 little pistols on his belt.
Okay, not what I expected.
Yeah, dude, this is a gentleman pirate so far. It doesn't mean he acts like a gentleman. He certainly doesn't.
Right.
But he does look like, yeah, like you said, like a lawmaker in old-timey England, This episode of Red Web is sponsored by Select Quote. Task Force, have you heard of the Slayer rules? These are legal provisions that prevent people from inheriting property or benefiting from the estate of a person that they murdered. One of the things that they protect is someone getting killed for their life insurance policy, which makes you realize how valuable life insurance is, doesn't it? And that is where Select Quote comes in. As a young man, I didn't know where to start out with insurance, whether it be life insurance, car insurance, or whatever form of insurance you're looking for. And that's why I appreciate Select Quote, because I go there. It's a one-stop shop where I can compare all the different plans plans and all the different prices that I'm going to be facing, it helps you really digest all of it in one place. And so if you're looking for any form of insurance, that's where SelectQuote comes in. Because for over 40 years, SelectQuote has helped more than 2 million Americans understand their options and get the coverage that they're needing. Over $700 billion in coverage. As a broker, their mission is simple: to find you the right insurance policy for your unique needs. SelectQuote's licensed agents will find you the right policy at the right price for you, comparing plans from trusted top-rated insurance companies to find a policy that fits your health, your lifestyle, and your budget. And they work for you for free. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. Life insurance is never cheaper than it is today. Get the right life insurance for you for less and save more than 50% at selectquote.com/redweb. Save more than 50% on term life insurance at selectquote.com/redweb today to get started. That's selectquote.com/redweb. This episode of Red Web is sponsored by BetterHelp. March includes International Women's Day, a moment to celebrate women's strength and progress while also recognizing how much they carry every day. Between caring for others and managing unseen responsibilities, their emotional well-being can be easily overlooked. Therapy offers a space for them to take care of themselves in a way they deserve. BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the U.S. BetterHelp does the initial matchmaking work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. And if you aren't happy with your match, switch to a different therapist at any time from their tailored recommendations. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 6 million people globally, and it works with an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for a live session based on over 1.7 million client reviews. To my understanding, finding the right therapist is essential in your therapy journey. You need someone who can speak to you in the way that you need to be spoken to. They understand your goals, they understand your needs, and they understand you. That's why I appreciate BetterHelp, because they work to find you the right person and make it easy to swap if they don't work for you. I think that's so important. Task Force, your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/redweb. That's betterhelp.com/redweb. So they're now heading down to Southern Africa, and their first raid is actually not too long after, as they ransacked 3 English merchant ships in the Cape Verde Islands. This is an archipelago of about 10 islands off the west coast of Africa. So very near the equator, just off the west coast. So you can kind of see through their acts, you can see where they've been and where they're going. Over the next few months, the crew made their way south along the west coast of Africa, and then they captured French and Danish ships in the process of kind of making new recruits. People probably dying of scurvy, not eating enough apples or what have you, and you need to just stack up your crew a little bit. And so you coerce some locals or other trade merchants who, well, they don't want to die, and so you coerce them into the life of piracy. I don't feel like you got a lot of honest men to support you in that world, but hey, it works for them, I guess. Now, by the time they reach Madagascar, which would be going around the Cape of Good Hope and then coming up north again, because Madagascar, if you don't know, sits off the eastern coast of Africa. By this point, it was the middle of 1695, and their crew had grown to about 150 men. So now they're not too shabby.
Like all on that boat?
All on that boat.
Damn.
And it was around this time that Every actually set his sights on a new mission. Somehow, whether it be through capturing some of these ships and recruiting new people, he heard tell of a fleet from the Mughal Empire that was planned to set sail from the Red Sea in the port of Mocha that would then go all the way back to Surat in India. This fleet was going to be ferrying Muslim pilgrims that were returning from their journey to Mecca, as well as several, and I mean several, loot-filled vessels filled to the brim with treasure. Now, the treasure that filled these ships was said to be owned by the Grand Mughal of India. And the Grand Mughal is considered the head of the Mughal Empire in India, and they reigned from, I believe, the early 1500s up through the maybe early 1800s. So very much in the time frame that we're talking about now, and hence why they are there. Now, of course, after hearing of this fleet, Every set sail. He didn't waste any time. He's like, we got to shoot up north now, essentially circumnavigating almost all of Africa, getting to them in time. Now, this would be around August of 1695. This is when he's sailing up there, and he's preparing now to ambush the Mughal crew. Now, in preparations for this attack, the Fancy partnered with several additional pirate ships in the area in order to carry out this mission. This included a different ship named the Amity, which was an American ship led by Thomas II, who was another infamous buccaneer. Just a few days after they reached the Red Sea, they spotted the target, which was a 25-ship Mughal convoy in the open water. So you see on the horizon like a line of 25 ships.
Oh.
It's pretty obvious. Them's the people. We're going for them.
I mean, you don't really ever hear about. I mean, usually when it's like, all right, pirates are gonna take over a ship. It's like a ship,
Yeah, right.
not 25. Like, how do you even manage that? How do you even? I don't know. How do you rope them in?
That's a good question. So I will say, to be clear, 25 ships were in the Mughal convoy. 25 ship fleet is the target. The pirate fleet, we don't know how many ships were in that fleet, but we do know, at least on record, there was about 500 men.
Okay, and then the first ship had how many men? Like 150.
150.
So I mean, it could be maybe like 3 ships at least. Like if you're just like packing the men in.
It's definitely at least 3.
Yeah.
Because at some point we have on record that 3 vessels were the ones that eventually made it to the fleet in order to attack.
Okay, interesting. I mean, if the ships aren't armed, you think they'd be armed to some extent.
Well, some of them are, on both sides.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like on the fleet, the big massive fleet. Man, I feel like you turn around and be like, there's 25 of us. We're gonna blow you out the water. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Let's just, hey, toss the anchors. Let's just blaze cannon fodder all over these pirates, right?
Right, exactly. That's where you just pull the like crazy counter. You know what I mean? They're like, they're just like, oh, we're gonna board your ship and we're gonna take over. And you just look at them and you just go, come in. And then you just go, whoa.
Hold on a second.
Man, what do you-
I don't want any of that heat. Hold on a second. I changed my mind. You want this?
Oh, I'm just kidding, bro. I don't know
Yeah,
what the heck is going on. I don't want none of that.
No, but you know what? Pass, hi. Waving your hook hand. No, just friendly drive-by.
It was a test. You passed.
It was a test. Here's the thing. In their desperation to chase down this fleet, and I think, we don't have this on record, but I think you're right. Instinct would say if all 25 ships were near each other, that they could just turn, all concentrate fire. I believe that they were more in kind of a line, and so they're a little bit further apart than you would expect. Kind of like Master and Commander style, where they're fewer and farther between. Some have different speeds, some have different cargo. And so I think maybe the idea was to run up from behind and take them one at a time.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I also have not seen that in a long time.
Dude, I remember loving it. I saw it in theaters. Christian, when did this movie come out? Help me out here.
Master and Commander, dude.
Master and Commander came out November 14th, 2003.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. No.
23 years ago. Hey.
Holy remote.
Yikes. I can picture myself in that theater. It was almost empty. Ends on a cool little upswing there. So they're desperate now to chase these ships down because all these years and months of no pay, becoming desperate, really just digging deep. It's like a sunk cost fallacy. They're like, all right, if we're going to go in, let's go all the way in. We've already attacked the English Empire. We've already recruited from the Danes and other people. So we've already made enemy of multiple nations. What's one more? So they chase it down. And in doing this, they actually lose a few of the ships because some of them are just not up to speed. So some of them drop off. Maybe they get a little fearful and turn away. We don't know. But ultimately, as you kind of astutely pointed out, this highlights the feeble nature of this alliance built on greed. How are you going to rope together multiple pirates when they're all so used to fighting for themselves?
Yeah.
So some are peeling off, some are just too slow, they get left behind. In the end, most of the pirate fleet had just been too slow to catch up to the convoy, which is partially why we end up with so few.
It's just, no one's organized. There's no like code, right? It's just pure chaos.
Truly, yeah. There's no way to quickly, you can't phone them. And even raising a flag to communicate something. Blue means speed up. Even
Right.
doing that takes a whole person to go get the flag, put it on, raise it up, lower it, interpret it. You're wasting man time looking at these flags when you should be hoisting sails or whatever.
Yeah, 100%.
So the Fancy is obviously fast enough. This is the center of the fleet, and it catches up to the lumbering escort ship called the Fath Mamamadi. Once it caught up to the Mamamati, it had a brief battle before the lumbering ship surrendered. They said, all right, fine, listen, insurance, whatever, our lives. An estimated 50,000 British pounds worth of gold and silver were acquired from this vessel.
Oh.
Not to be confused with like weight pounds, but like British sterling pounds.
Right,
So
yep.
$50,000 in the late 1600s, big fortune.
Yeah.
Not even a small fortune, a decent fortune.
Well, I mean, he was promising these people. He's like, hey, I'm gonna go get my bag. You're welcome to join me. And he is carrying out that promise, man.
Truly. And they could turn away at this point, but they don't. So the Fancy, bolstered by this success, turns their fleet to resume hunting for the rest of the convoy, and by September 7th, only 3 vessels remained of the original pirate Fancy fleet. So we don't know where they started, but we do know, by fact on history, they have 3 vessels now. And around this time is when they finally caught up to the flagship of the Grand Mughal fleet, the Ganj-e-Siwai. Now, unlike the Fath Mamamati, which was poorly protected, which made for easy pickings, they got these $50,000 in gold and silver, the Fancy came up to a ship that was truly the opposite. This was a deeply formidable foe. The Ganj-e-Siwai was armed with several dozen cannons and over 400 riflemen just on that one boat.
400?
Yeah.
Dang, when the ship has like 150 men, 400 rifles, you're gonna riddle that ship with bullets and then take 5 years to reload, but then still riddle it again with bullets.
Right. Great observation. Just so you have a visual of what that ship looks like, I do have an image an illustration of what the Ganj-e-Siwai looked like.
Oh, you see that beast?
It's beautiful. Take a look at that photo.
Oh my god, dude. Multiple decks.
It's so mind-blowing. Like, I don't want to rob humanity of its ingenuity, but you look at all those pulley systems and all these flags and tethers. How do you design that? How do you control it?
Yeah, man. Not us.
Couldn't be. Not buff enough of the mind.
You know what we're doing? We're mopping somewhere.
Yeah, dude. I'm poop decking.
Yeah.
I'm swabbing.
I'm just mopping, bro. I don't know the pulley systems or anything like that.
Yup. I mop, I have parrot on my shoulder, and I tell wild tales.
Yep.
You know?
I tell wild
I look at the sunrise and I predict the future. I do that stuff.
Dude, it's got a wide body kit on it. Like, dang. That's luxurious. That's a beast.
Yes.
No wonder. Was it 400 riflemen?
400 riflemen. And it could have been 16,000 mopmen. We don't know.
Bro, just the initial barrage, good luck dodging it.
Yeah.
It's like bullets they're going to go right through some of the wood.
That ship's tall, too.
Yeah.
It's a wild attempt. You could have walked away. Easy money. Off you go. No harm, no foul, maybe. But instead, I think this is ultimately their greatest sin because of what proceeds after this. But also, they just get super, super lucky because, like you said, 400 riflemen and these armaments is way more than the 3 ships had combined.
Yep.
Almost as much as they had when they started. So the pirates knew that going after such a heavily equipped ship would be extremely challenging, nearly impossible, but they felt ready for it. They think, if I see that many cannons, it must have the goods.
Dude, super brave, man. Ain't no way. I'd be shaking in my boots, my little pirate boots.
Right. This is exactly the moment where you wave your hook hand and do exactly what you say. Hi! You take the pirate flag down quick. You put up a pink or like the white flag that says we give up and a pink flag that says we love you. And then you run away.
You move on. It's a test. Y'all pass. You keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, you pass. You're like, what do you mean we passed? We've just been here. Anyway, their risk pays off enormously because after firing upon this flagship, the pirates land a devastating blow. In this opening volley of cannon fire, they managed to take down the main mast. I don't know if they've got, Bullseye from Daredevil on board or if they just got really lucky, but one of the cannonballs collides with one of the main masts, which take down the main sails, which immediately disrupts any ability to run away. So their speed is cut probably in half, if not more so, and then they have all this damage of the thing. Not only that, though, I believe that as they were fighting, one of the artillery pieces on this flagship, the Ganj-e-Siwai, malfunctioned and subsequently exploded.
What?
And so this ship, was well equipped and everything, but one of their cannons explodes, their main mast goes down, And so immediately they're like, it's a level playing field.
Oh no, dude. That's so upsetting.
Yeah.
When you're
Yes.
just like, I don't know, man. It's like sports where you have a just disgusting offensive team and then your star wide receiver quarterback gets injured. And you're just like, if that didn't happen, we would have crushed. Absolutely crushed. Oh, I'd be mad. I'd be angry.
I'd be very upset. This ship had all the reason in the world to blow Every and his crew away. And instead, they land a lucky blow. One of their cannons blows up. So Every pulls his ship up alongside the Bugal ship. They send a group of men on board. And so now it's a full-on fight. It's unclear how many pirates go over and join this fleet-leading vessel here. But after they get on board, the Indian riflemen seem to be backed into a corner. And on record, it says that they were abandoned by their captain. We don't know if he jumped overboard or if he started using people as shields and just kind of cowered away or locked himself away in his quarters. Either way, the crew now is greatly demoralized. They're in close quarters combat with rifles, and it's kind of game over.
Luck was on their side that day.
Yes, luck was definitely helping them out. And this is where the story gets really, really sinister. You know pirates, all right? I think that carries a lot of the weight here. But despite these people being backed into a corner, they didn't just make off with the goods and that was it. Instead, they started torturing and killing people. There were women on board. Need I say more? In fact, Indian historian Kafi Khan wrote about the attack. Here's what they said, quote, "After having remained engaged for a week in searching for plunder, stripping the men of their clothes and dishonoring the old and young women, they left the ship and its passengers to their fate. Some of the women, getting an opportunity, threw themselves into the sea to save their honor, while others committed suicide using knives and daggers."
Jesus.
End quote.
Oof.
So it was truly sinister. And then they left him with it. They could honestly wipe him out. If nothing else, as a bad guy, you're clearing your path and you're getting rid of witnesses, but you're like devastating everybody here, taking all the wealth, and then letting them just sit in that and live with it, so to speak, or worse.
Yeah, you know, it's like, oh, pirate, they do nasty things.
Truly. Yeah. And like I said, they get romanticized into fun tales. Real pirates do real terrible stuff.
They do. And to each other too. There's no code of like brotherhood or anything like that.
Well, they do have parlay.
Yeah, there's the
Parlay. You know what? With this like head cold going on, I can kind of do a pirate voice.
That's what I'm saying. Work it. Work it while you can.
Dude, I'm also still sitting here at the edge of a sneeze, and it's been hours.
Really?
Yes. It's a wild time to be sure, but parlay. Dude, my voice is going as this episode is happening. So Task Force, thank you for bearing with me. But let's talk about the plunder, because like I said, many pirates have many tales with no proven track record of having treasures or buried treasures. Like, a lot of these things might actually be stories. We've talked about pirates before in the past, and we've analyzed the fact and fiction of their stories. But in total, Every and his crew walked away with jewels, gold, and silver that was worth somewhere in the ballpark between 324,000 and 600,000 British sterling pounds.
And that was then or now?
So that was then, which would be the equivalent of a country's fortune. That's like a small empire's worth of that's true wealth.
Oh, that's a lot.
It's a lot of money.
That's a good chunk today.
That's a good chunk today, but yeah.
But you talk about, oh my God, the amount of inflation. How many times have we talked about like, oh, it's like $50,000, and it's like, how much is that today? It's like, oh, it's like 350,000. I'm like, dang, you're set for life. Just bail at that point.
That's king making money right there.
Yeah, get out. Done. I'm gone. Later.
That's Splitsville. And that's kind of what they did. Now, I was very interested by this number. I kind of hinted at this before, but every resource we looked at did say, yes, this is what it was worth back then, but in today's estimates, it's worth somewhere between, in US currency, $80 to $123 million.
Oh, gone. Never see me ever again. I'm retired. I'm chilling somewhere. Everyone's getting paid handsomely, so no one else has to worry about it. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's eating good. No one's going to betray no one. We're all set for the rest of our lives. if you arbitrate, you truly do not know how to manage money.
You're right. Yeah.
And you got some issues. But yeah, no, I'm gone. 100%.
Yeah, that's Splitsville. That's gone with the wind right there. But here's the thing. 600,000 British pounds in the late 1600s. I'm thinking, why isn't that worth closer to something like $1 billion today? It's wild.
True.
A lot of that inflation comes from the 20th century, for what it's worth.
Yeah. I'm sure you see like a massive just spike right there.
Yeah. So if you transferred 60,000 British pounds from the 1890s, it would still be in the millions. So it's like, that gives you an idea. But anyway, after the raid, as you kind of astutely guessed at, the group divided up the profits and then set sail for the Bahamas, a place that was friendly to the pirates. And many of them settled in New Providence, which is today one of the most populous islands in the Bahamas. Otherwise, the pirates seemingly were kicking back, relaxing with their new fortunes. But of course, they couldn't do this for long because English authorities were dealing with the political tensions and repercussions following the raid. As you can imagine, the owner of this fleet, the leader of the Mughal Empire, the Grand Mughal Aurangzeb, who was of course outraged by this attack. Not only do you have Muslim pilgrims moving back from a religious pilgrimage, but you also have the Grand Mughal's fortune, or at least a large swath of it, is on these ships. And so he's pissed off. He knows because of the survivors that it was some English dude that was tearing up the town. So he immediately goes to England. And now you have two great powers sitting here going, what are we going to do about this?
Yeah.
In fact, he then, in his outrage, and rightfully so, arrested several high-profile members of the English East India Company as he believed that they themselves were conspiring against him. As you know, maybe even from Pirates of the Caribbean, the East India Company was a trading company moving spice and tea and other goods, and they themselves were essentially an empire to their own right in the area. And so this immediately spurred on the political intrigue, and England's like, we got to figure this out. Fearing that their trade agreements were at risk, the company, the East India Company, decided to compensate the Mughals for what was stolen. And so they basically say, okay, how much did you lose? Here's the damages. In addition, they vowed to bring the pirates to justice, and then, of course, the search ensued. And so this is actually, again, I'm glad you mentioned the movie, but like, that's why you have tensions between the East India Company and pirates. There is literal factual history within that. And it's why that guy, the short king, who is actually like the good guy, bad guy, because he's like capitalist king of East India Trading Company, he's branding pirates, and so they can never escape who they are, right? So anyway, they pay reparations, and they themselves are going, we're going to find these guys.
Like, you're funding a war with that kind of money. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
First manhunt, totally understand why.
Mm-hmm. This could have become a war.
Yeah, this is a whole all-out war. Like, track everyone down. That money. Oh man, I'd be so stressed to try even get back a fraction of that money because they're spending it heavily. They're splitting it up. They're just going. It's scattering to the winds, and the stress that's building in my head, and I don't even have anything to do with it.
And I think at this point, they're making so much money controlling the world and the trade routes that I'm sure it's not even about the money anymore. Yes, it is, of course, but really it's about making sure heads roll because you want to send a message.
Yeah, I was about to say a statement, right? Like, yeah, you can't just do this and get away with it, right? Like, if you do this is the punishment that'll happen.
Yes, which is understandable because if you, a rogue individual who used to work for the Royal Navy, now kind of disenfranchise yourself and run off with your own crew of other kidnapped individuals, who's to say you don't inspire copycats? And then you create all these international tensions because you're just a man without a flag at that point. So now you have the joint efforts of the English East India Company and the Royal Navy. They're all setting sail around the world, looking for the Fancy and anyone else. Of course, Henry Every being their main target. Now, there was an enormous bounty for that time of 1,000 British pounds placed on Every's head, but no one was able to claim it because no one ever had factual knowledge of where he went, what happened to the money, in fact. But just for the sake of conversation, 1,000 British pounds at that time is worth around $250,000 US to this day.
Oh, yeah. I'm keeping my eyes open.
I'm going to be looking.
I'm keeping my eyes open for sure.
I'm like,
you know what I'm saying?
Where's that Every?
I'm walking into pubs and stuff, and I'm like, just peeping.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know what? I'm sure people were turning left and right like, yeah, that guy, my neighbor looks like Henry Every.
God. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. The amount. It always happens. Just the amount of people that are just like, it's like, yeah, it's him. This is the guy right here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, all right, not the guy. Wasted our time. Thank you.
Right. So the pirates are made aware, right? They're in the Caribbean, they're kicking it, but they very quickly scatter. And it is worth mentioning that some of them were found. Some of the crew members were found and subsequently executed. And it's believed that many escaped to Europe and the American colonies. So some were found, but no information was coerced out of them about Henry Avery. Many of them died or were executed, and many others escaped. Again, Henry Avery himself, along with his stolen treasure, was never found. And the search for him is considered one of the first manhunts in history, and the fact that he was never discovered has inspired many theories as to what may have happened all those centuries ago, especially when the record is so thin of hard factual evidence.
Yeah, it's wild because it's like, okay, this person actually existed.
Mm-hmm.
We have proof, and there's proof of like this siege that happened, this theft that happened. And it's just gone, man. And it's like, it was a terrible person that did terrible things, but to be able to do that, pull it off, vanish, like, dang, okay.
Yeah, truly the crime of the millennia.
You had a good chunk of the world looking after you at that point.
Absolutely. And like two of the most powerful navies in the world, the Royal Navy at the time and the East India Company, I'm treating them like they're their own empire. Kind of they were. They were just so wealthy.
Yeah, they're very well off.
Yeah, without knowing too much depth about that corner of history, it's all lost to like my old education. But yeah, dude, this was truly the crime of a millennia. So this is where the theories come in, and they're kind of thin up until recent years. There was a new, very strong theory that starts to talk about espionage and spy code, and it gets wild. Oh yeah, this treasure hunt turns into espionage very quickly.
You think though, you talk about espionage and spy code and all that kind of stuff. I will say, I don't think that like he died quietly. You know what I mean? Because like they would have wanted to made like a statement, but like, we got him. This is what happened. Look what happens when you take from us. I think they'd make a whole big fuss about it. So I don't think like they caught him, killed him behind the scenes or anything like that with the spy stuff. Just my initial thought.
Yeah, this man died with a golden headrest and a feather pillow underneath him. You know what I mean?
That's seriously, man.
Yeah, wherever he was. He might have been on a small little island somewhere in the Caribbean, maybe the colonies, maybe back in Europe, just kicking it.
He stopped. He didn't get greedy. I say, don't get greedy. Just stop all that kind of stuff. But honestly, like, it's easier said than done. I was playing Arc Raiders, and it's a game where you loot, and there's other people that can kill you for take your loot. And I was like, I have a whole treasure. I have a whole bag full of just like good
ducks.
Loot. And I just kept going, there's one more box over there I could search real quick. And as I was searching, I was like, this is stupid. I'm getting greedy. Every single box. You know what I mean? So easier said than done when you're just like, just stop while you're ahead.
Right.
Like,
right? When's enough?
When's enough? I can get just a little more. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Oh, well, when you get the taste, you got a little gold bug,
Yeah.
Listen, a little birdie told me but 15 minutes ago that someone was duplicating their expensive ducks. You know what I mean?
Duplicating.
You're racing midnight to get extra ducks out there, watering down the market. When's enough? You reverse burglar.
That's true. Well, it wasn't. The greed is high. But I will say, though, the amount of money that they were able to accumulate in one, just go. Like, what else do you do at that point? When you have so much money in one go, a lot of time it's like, we took a bunch of money, we're well off. This is like, I have so much money, not just me. Everyone that is with me has so much money for generations. You just stop. You know what I mean? Like, there's no bigger incentive to just put the flag down, put the sword down, and you just live your life. Because what else? What is more money going to do for you at that point?
You got in, you got out. Also, you know, the first ship they hit was 50,000 quid. The last ship they hit was between 350 and 600. And so I'm like, even then, your next heist is going to feel like pennies against what your hoard is back home.
Yeah, that's true.
So you might as well kick it.
Yeah.
So there were two prominent theories up until 2024, recent year. So let's talk about those. Some historians believe that Every found refuge after sneaking back away to Ireland, of all places. This theory states that he would have sailed up to Rhode Island first, and from there he would have then crossed the Atlantic back to Ireland. We don't really know the details of the theory, what else might have been going on. In fact, it's been reported that he was last seen in June of 1696 going by the alias of Bridgman. We couldn't find where this was, but if this was the last known source of him, I think it was in the colonies or at least in the Caribbean, it would kind of help build on this theory. But outside of these few details, little is known what would have come of his life after crime there in Ireland.
Good luck if you found him, period. Let alone like knew a possible alias and then actually tracked him down and figure out where he is and what he's doing. I'm just surprised as of right now that there isn't any like, you know, there's 150 men on that ship. Mm-hmm. I'm sure a handful died to battle. Even then, you say 50 died to battle or half died to battle. There's still a good chunk, you know, there's still so many people still alive, you know, 175 or whatever. And none of them seemingly got caught or like picked up or.
Well, that might have got lost in the shuffle. I will say, like, I don't know how many, what percentage, but some of the pirates did get caught and executed.
Okay.
But many did make it away, right?
Yeah,
so,
that's right. Okay.
Yeah. So it seems that none of them squealed or they didn't know where they all scattered to.
I mean, here's the thing. Why would anyone tell anyone anything? Like, look, gentlemen, we all made off with a huge bag. I won't see you never. I think we're all in agreement on that. Goodbye. Enjoy your life. Thank you for following me on this excursion. I bid you adieu.
The past 2 years have been the most profitable of my entire existence. Goodbye.
That's it.
2 years.
There's no need for anyone to tell anyone anything. You just
Bada
go.
Boom.
Especially when they're all there, they're all ruthless, and they're there to make money, and they would have turned on each other if times were bad, most likely.
Sure.
They're not going to have huge ties to each other.
Man, who's to say one of these pirates doesn't make like a bank in some area and start lending out money, and they develop some sort of generational influence that lasts till today, you know?
That's
like that could be a thing.
There could be a company that still stands today or had a long run that was based off of this money because someone was just that much of an entrepreneur.
It went somewhere, whether it's the bottom of the ocean or into the economy. This wealth went somewhere, and I can only dream about what it would be.
That much money, I ain't trying to entrepreneur anything. I'm not trying to make. I am good. The next generation is good. Then it's up to y'all from there. You know what I'm saying?
The thing. That's the thing. It comes right back to the very valid question: when is enough enough?
Yeah, true.
And when do you just stop and live this magical miracle that is the chemical reactions of life? Just like the conversion of ATP energy and neurons communicating with one another and your whole body working in symbiosis with itself just exist, you know?
That's it.
You just exist.
That's it.
You find a beach, you read a book, you have a Mai Tai.
Right.
And that's it.
Dude, that's it. That is truly it though. Like what else you don't have to worry about anything. You can do what you want. I don't need a super yacht.
But what about 5 of them though? Compelled now?
Well,
definitely not.
You hear about all the lottery winners and there's like, what do they do? Most of them go broke because they buy a mansion and they buy a bunch of cars. I'm like, dude, you could literally just coast for the rest of your life.
I mean, that's true, right? It's hard to not spend. You know what? Maybe some of these pirates blew it and then they went right back into the Royal Navy. Who knows?
How the hell did you blow that much? Like you would literally have to work so hard to blow that money so fast.
You know what I just thought of? They'd have to launder it. You imagine going for like an ale at a bar and putting down a pile of gold coins and a diamond. How do you not get attention on you?
Yeah, you'd have to launder.
Could you spend it at all? It depends on the denominations.
I mean, good problem to have.
Oh, I'd be scared. I would be
Someone
too. Someone finds out.
I would be too. I'd probably hop to a place, do a large trade, get out, never return. You know what I mean? And then just do that the world's big enough.
It truly is, especially at this time.
You're going to find some of the coins, some of the diamonds. Guess what? It's in 50 other locations.
So, Every, let's get back to him and where he might be at. Maybe in Ireland. Maybe kicking it, washing his money, doing whatever he does. But other historians speculate that Every returned to Devon, this time settling in Bidford. Legend says that Every had taken home the diamonds from his days as a pirate. However, as the story goes, he was supposedly swindled out of these riches shortly after returning home. So you and I joke about it, but it's possible he was swindled or threatened out of them because, I mean, somebody catches a glint in your pocket, you're a target.
Yeah. I mean, you got to watch your back.
And this theory kind of purports that he then lived out the rest of his days in poverty, as reporting the man who stole his loot, maybe even threatened his life. I'm adding a little flair, but maybe this is how he was swindled. If you report this guy to the police, it kind of raises questions as to, one, how'd you get those in the first place?
True.
Two, you look like that rosy-cheeked pirate that they're all looking for back home, and I could use a reward.
Yeah, you can't do anything about that. Like, good luck. Like, you are essentially like locked out of any type of help from the government for the rest of your life.
It's kind of the perfect crime.
Big time. Yeah.
Steal from the criminal.
Dude, that's the thing, you know what I mean? And it's like, why work so hard when you can just catch him at the pass?
Now, to add to this theory, it's kind of the thing that gives it the most legs. Several people over the years following did report seeing a man that looked oddly just like Every. It's not like he was a very unique person, but based on all accounts and all details and all illustrations of him, people have said that over the next 20 years, there were reported sightings of a man like Every. And so maybe he did just go back home.
I mean, that's wild to just go back home.
Right. If you're known to have lived in Devon,
you think that'd be the number one place you can't go back to.
Right. So this is where he's from. This is where his family's at. Let's just post up here and wait. But of course, this brings us all to a very recent theory, that of espionage, of a dash of modern day code deciphering. It gets wild. So in March 2024, shipwreck explorers Dr. Sean Kingsley and Rex Cohen claim that they have solved the disappearance of Henry Every. They believe that after his days as a pirate, Every became a spy for the King of England, William III.
What?
Their evidence was an unpublished coded letter written in Cornwall, England by someone going by the name of Avery the Pirate. So they found this in a Scottish archive after it had been misfiled. So I believe one of the wives of these shipwreck explorers was helping them look through documents, and they found this letter that was like half English, half just random numbers and letters and gibberish. And they found out, oh, spies used to talk like this back in the day. And the author of this letter was Avery the Pirate, which seems very one-for-one Henry Every, or aka Henry Avery. This letter, to add to it, was dated December 1700, which was just 4 years after the Mughal attack. And the two shipwreck explorers believe that this letter links Every to one of the first ever spy rings. Not only the first ever manhunt, not only the first proven pirate with treasure.
This man's sitting on the first, dude.
He's breaking records. One of the first ever spy rings. Okay, so I'm gonna drop a few names on you, but bear with me. Let me know if I lose you. We are now in the early 18th century, the 1700s. There's a spy ring that is said to have included Daniel Defoe, who was the author of Robinson Crusoe, and Thomas Tennyson, who was the Archbishop of Canterbury. So remember these two names, Defoe and Tennyson, because I'm gonna offer a glimpse into this very intricate web of spies, because otherwise it goes very deep. But the theory is that Every might have been just another spy in this web. Like I said, Cohen's wife discovered this letter while they were looking for information on the Dutch East India Company traders. Unfortunately, like I said, half of the letter is illegible because of the numeric code. Cohen and Kingsley have tried for years to decode this letter with no luck. In fact, I'll give you an example, Task Force, just in case your buff minds can try to figure this out. Here's just one line from this letter. It says, I am not the least concerned for Tank 29 FB26, being out of T9211597. Basically, they are censoring the proper nouns out of the sentence. So, I'm not the least concerned for blank being out of blank. Could mean anything. But it sounds to me like I'm not concerned for so-and-so because they're from this place, or they're coming out of such and such. But again, without context, it's hard to say, but it's just weird because they don't have a cipher for this, and so we might not ever know what this note says.
That's such a wild transition. It does make me go, is this like a fanciful tale? You know what I mean? Because this person was just such a grand influence and did such a grand thing, and now we're just kind of entering the realm of like bolstering them as a person.
It does feel like, to say it again, a romanticized story.
It does.
But in my mind, I mean, it does make sense as far as certain locations are concerned, and heck, maybe the Royal Navy did find him, and maybe I'm in agreement with you that they would want to make a message out of this person. Put his head on a pike and say, we don't appreciate piracy, we don't want any more international scandals, etc. But maybe also they said, okay, you're either going to die, or we're going to use you and your network. You're essentially a ghost now, but you're a spy for us. Who knows?
Interesting.
So in this letter, it does note that a reply should be addressed to the post house in Falmouth, Cornwall. It just so happens that at that time, Defoe himself was in Cornwall under the guise of being a shipwrecked treasure diver named Claude Guillot. Ironically, he was a treasure diver in 1700. Okay, so Defoe allegedly worked as a spy himself for William III and invented a numeric code for spy mail. And so it's not like it's one for one directly linked to Defoe, but the fact that it has Avery on there, Avery the pirate, it's using numeric code, and it says in order to respond, postmark it here where another theorized spy is, who also is said to have invented this kind of numeric code. It's kind of making some informed assumptions to make this conclusion. Obviously, if we had it dead to rights, we'd have an answer.
Right. What a tangled web.
A very tangled web. There's one other piece that helps strengthen the theory, though. The recipient of this letter was Reverend James Richardson in Orchard Street, London. Now, this was interesting because this address was linked to London's first public lending library, which just so happened to have been set up by the other guy I talked about, Tennyson, and Richardson was the librarian of this location. So now you have another theorized spy, and a location that they set up is now also directly linked into the web of this letter being moved around. And so given these facts, Kingsley and Cohen both believe that this letter is authentic and that it does point to at least the tip of an iceberg. It's only a small clue as to Every's situation after pirate life, and many believe in the possibility of Every becoming a spy in his later years, but for now, the theory, as compelling as it may be, rests on the author of this letter being none other than Henry Avery himself. It could be someone else, but it also, he's gone by Avery before and he was a pirate, and if this is true, the next steps in discovering what happened to Avery might lie in decoding these almost ancient English spy codes at this point.
I feel like, why put yourself out there, you know? It's like interesting because we talk about how it's like, you know, you can work for us, all that kind of stuff, but it also kind of contradicts itself. It's like, you know, we want you to work for us, no one's going to know about you, all that kind of stuff. But then there's all these little like instances of like the name usage and everything like that.
You make me think of an interesting question, which is, what if Avery the Pirate was itself a code name used by the English to otherwise denote something, right? A man on the run, a ghost on the wind, a folktale, or just a fake name. It could be an authentic letter, it could be from Henry Avery, or it could be, in my guesstimation here, somebody that just used that infamous pirate of recent years, like 4 years prior to that, as another level of code. I don't know. You know, there's all sorts of project names and code names, like Project Blue Book. That says nothing about UFOs, but it is just a project name, right?
Yeah, that's true. Like, yeah, it could have nothing to do with them at all and just be just like, yeah, project name.
It's just really fascinating though, because I wouldn't have expected a classic pirate tale to be the first manhunt at a global scale, especially with proven hoards of treasure that has now gone missing. We don't know where it is. He's missing and he survived all of this, supposedly. But then it all culminates in just like 2 years ago, a spy story. And so now the possible truth is hidden behind a potentially undecipherable numeric code. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And the only reason this letter was found was because it was misfiled. It was an accident that they found it. It's nuts.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. That is pretty over the top.
We stumbled into this. Because if we did this episode at the beginning of the show, 5.5 years ago, we would have ended with maybe he went to Ireland, maybe he went to England.
Yeah, and that's it.
That's about it.
Yeah. But now, it's what, 2024?
Yeah.
It's crazy how we do so many topics and there's still like, not a lot, but a surprising amount of like, we had an update last year or the year before that. And we talk about all the time as technology goes on. You never know what kind of technology will be invented 50 years from now that allows us to reinterpret the past or scan things and determine certain answers. You know, we're doing this thing 30 years from now, or even like 10 years from now, you know, technology jumps. So we're all of a sudden just doing a series where we're just like, hey, here's an update for this and this and this and this because it's new technology, right? It still baffles my mind. 2024, it's like, oh, we might have a little update, might have a little say to this. And it's like, damn, what?
Always. And it's so weird too. There was a long run where we would put out an episode. We're like, all right, this one's stable, like the treasure hunt in France for that sterling owl. We were like, all right, this one's been around the block for a while, a treasure hunt. No one's found this golden owl. We put out the episode and within the month, they found it. It's like stuff like that happens all the time.
It's so cool though.
It's very cool. A lot of these, I mean, like you said, even this one, this historic mystery with so many firsts from almost, well, like what, 350 years ago or whatever, estimations here. Even still, it's still alive and it's still unfolding and developing.
Yeah.
That's just wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. All right, well, as we come to an end here on the tale of Pirate Henry Every, I want to give a few shout outs to the task force members over at redwebpod.com that keep our lights on and just support us directly, like Alex Miller, who is our newest member at the elite tier. Thank you so much,
welcome,
Alex.
Welcome.
We got Jacques the Great, who is our buff scientist of the week. Maybe you can use that rippling, muscular, vascular brain to help us crack the code.
Sir.
And then, of course, our squonks of the week, we have Brett O'Meara, Zarathustra, and Andy Schrock. Thank you all so much. And now I rest my voice because it is about to pop.
Take whatever medicine you need. Rest up, rest well.
All right, Task Force. Thank you all so much. This was a really, really fun one.
This is a great ride. Yeah.
Head to redwebpod.com. Lots of exclusives, but also somewhere either before or after this episode, Red Web Radio 2 is finally coming out. I'm so excited. I'm currently working on that right now, but I'm very excited about that. Sonia is back with the art. Pigeon Studio is back with the music. So go enjoy that if it's out now. But with that, Fredo, I'll see you right back here next Monday for yet another mystery.